I now call the Iberia Parish Council meeting to order for June 14, 2023. The current time now is 6 o'clock. I'll have the prayer led by Mr. Phillips and the pledge led by Mr. Phillips and the prayer led by Mr. Trahan. Mr. Trahan?
Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Mr. Phillips?
Please face the flag. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Madam Clerk, please initiate the roll call.
Tommy Pollard. Here. Michael Landry. Marcus Broussard. Here. Lloyd Brown. Here. Warren Gotchison.
Here.
Natalie Broussard. Here. Paul Landry. Here. James Trahan. Here. Scott Ronsonet. Here. Eugene Olivier. Here. Brian Napier. Here. Lady Fontenette Brown. Scott Saunier. Here. Chad Montreman. Here.
12 members in the quorum. I need a motion to go into public comments. I have a motion by Councilman Pollard, second by Councilman Ronsonet. Roll call members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. Number one, Madam Clerk.
Comments from the general public on agenda items.
We do have one. We have a request to speak by Mr. Phillips to address the council on agenda item 109. He is in favor. Mr. Phillips, please state your name and address for the record, sir, and welcome.
Richard Phillips, 420 East Main Street, New Iberia. The item is dealing with the roof repairs to the library. And I do believe that as someone who uses the library quite often, I would prefer that the books were dry, I was dry, and the children were dry. That's really all I want to do. Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, we appreciate you being here, sir. Madam Clerk, hearing no other, item A.
Persons being considered for appointment to parish boards, commissions to address the council.
We do have a couple. We do have Miss Natalie LaRue will be addressing the council for reappointment to the library board. Ms. LaRue, if you can state your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Thank you. Natalie LaRue, 130 Bank Avenue, New Iberia, Louisiana, District 1. Again, Natalie, I am currently on the library board, and I am seeking renewal for membership to the library board. And these last 5 years, we've built 2 libraries. We solved the Delcombe Vermilion Parish issue, and we are currently working on proactive policies in light of the recent cultural shift. I'd like to continue to working with our current director and our incoming director, who are both here today. Again, please consider mine.
Members, at this time, are there any questions for Ms. LaRue while she's here? Hearing none. Ms. LaRue, thank you for your service to our community. We appreciate it. We also have Mr. Casey Thibodeau, who is seeking to address the council for reappointment to the Iberia Parish Sewer District Number 1. Mr. Thibodeau, if you can state your name and address for the record, sir. Welcome.
Casey Thibodeau, 2519 Sugar Mill Road, New Iberia, Louisiana. So here coming in front of you guys to be reappointed back to the sewer board. Been there for quite a bit. Got a lot of work done, still got a lot of more work to do. So my reappointment's coming back up, and would like you guys' support to have me reappointed back to the board.
Members, at this time, is there any questions for Mr. Thibodeau while he's here? Hearing none. Mr. Thibodeau, thank you for your service to our community. We appreciate it. Hearing no other request to address the council, I need a motion to go back into regular session. I have a motion by Councilman Pollard. Was that second by Councilman Trahan? Roll call members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to community events and public service announcements. Number 1, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Troy Guidry with Acadiana Companies to give a brief presentation to the council about opportunities for employment, which includes training for the position.
I do think we have a change up of who will be addressing us tonight. If you want to state your name and title.
Absolutely. My name is Adam Olivier. I'm the operations manager for Acadian Companies for this area.
And
And I have with me Ms. Lindsay Leger. She's our recruiter for this area.
The floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you, councilmen and women, for your time. I want to say Mr. Troy Giddy regrets he couldn't be here, but him and President Richard are in constant communication, making sure we meet the needs of the parish, and he wanted me to convey that to you. Brief history. As some of you may know, Acadian Ambulance has been in business for 51 years, and we've grown to support any and all needs of the parishes that we serve as they have presented themselves. As it stands, we have nearly 5,000 employees total. That's company-wide. We have 70 that currently reside in Iberia Parish, and we have an annual payroll of around $4 million that comes straight back to our employees in this parish. Some things we've been working on recently. We've recently invested a lot of money into our disaster responsibilities. We have a total of 3 high water rescue vehicles, 1 ambus. It's a giant bus modified to evacuate nursing homes and facilities. It can transport 16 patients at one time. We have multiple shower and restroom trailers, multiple laundry trailers, all to support an affected area during a hurricane or natural disaster. 16 water tanks to hold fresh water, 10 portable fuel tanks, 10 portable generators, mobile fleet repair to keep our units rolling even if local fleet assets are destroyed, cooking trailers, mobile clinic trailers, and even a satellite uplink trailer that can help provide internet service and radio communications for first responders. We use these to deploy to what we call forward operating bases in affected areas. We have done this recently, most recently in Houma and Lake Charles. We can set up basically our own mobile command center and run operations out of there, even if the entire area has been decimated. There's no local resources. I say all this to illustrate that we are dedicated to our areas and the citizens we serve. We invested a lot of money to be able to provide all these services. What we've come to invest in most recently is our education. We have the ability to educate in-house anyone that's interested in the emergency medical field, getting into emergency medicine, even the medical field in general. If they have no medical knowledge, just a high school diploma, GED, we can take that person, train them up to EMT, paramedic, critical care paramedic, flight paramedic, even all the way up to, supervisors, operations managers such as myself. The career opportunities are endless with us. We've been here 51 years, we're not going anywhere, and now we're investing in the education into our communities, trying to provide a good career with a stable company that's not going to go anywhere. All those career paths can be achieved for no final cost to that student. With some tuition reimbursement contracts, with working with workforce grants, we have the ability to take someone with a GED and educate them all the way up to critical care paramedic or flight paramedic. And once they're finished with their certifications, all those years later, they actually come out with a certification in a high demand industry with zero debt. So my ask of you this evening, and I appreciate the time again, is just to help us spread the word. If you've got family, friends, colleagues that you know about, please send them to becomeamedic.com. They can get any and all information there on how to register for classes, what the career path looks like, anything like that's all at becomeamedic.com, and we'd be happy to look at anyone that's interested. And unless there's any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
Members, at this time, is there any questions for Mr. Olivier? Mr. Olivier?
Yeah, I just want to thank y'all for your service in Iberia Parish. I think it's well recognized and well needed. Also for most of y'all contributions y'all give to a lot of nonprofit organizations. Thank y'all very much for your generosity as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Right.
Councilman Olivier yields back. Anyone else, members? Hearing none, you reserve the right to close.
That's it for me.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Moving on to reports from finance and administrative actions. Number 1.
Balance sheets for April 2023, copy on request.
Number 2.
Budget reports for April 2023, copy on request.
Moving on to reports from parish or other governmental agencies. Number 1, Madam Clerk.
Monthly building report for the month of May 2023 in agenda packets.
Moving on to public works reports. Number 1.
Public Works Department report for closed work orders dated May 10th through 23rd, 2023.
Special business. There is none. Council member announcements. This time, anyone? Members? Councilwoman Broussard is recognized.
Yes, I just wanted to give an update on the Parish Prepared event that was put on Thursday of last week. We had just under 100 participants. Westgate, the Iberia Parish School Board was kind enough to let us use the facilities of the Westgate Auditorium. It turned out to be a pretty impressive facility for what we were trying to do, and I think a collaboration with them in the future for things that we need to do would be beneficial to the community. We had several guest speakers that provided information to the attendees to prepare themselves for disaster, including Cameron Kowalski and Donald Jones with the National Weather Service, Iberia Parish Fire Department Chief Guy Bonin, Iberia Parish Sheriff Tommy Romero, our very own Prescott Marshall, and team members from CERT gave presentations. I think it was very valuable information that was provided to the community, and we really appreciate the attendance. Chad Monterey, Eugene, Olivier came, as well as Bo came on behalf of Mr. Richard. So I appreciate y'all's attendance and support. It is on CERT's Facebook page. We did broadcast it live. So if y'all have any constituents that couldn't make it, that want the information that was provided, they could always go to our Facebook page and get that information.
Hearing none. Councilwoman Broussard, yours back. Anyone else, members? Hearing none. Moving on to parish president's announcements. Mr. Boulanger.
Good evening. On behalf of President Richard, I'd like to read an update from Waterworks District Number 3. Air compressor upgrade. We recently purchased a new air compressor that utilizes a dual head motor system. This new air compressor replaces 2 older independent units that would struggle to rebuild pressure for plant operations from an outage. The new air compressor is able to rebuild operating pressure throughout our entire system within 20 minutes as opposed to approximately 1 hour. This is a substantial upgrade. Master control panel upgrade. This is probably the most substantial upgrade pertaining to operations at our water plant. We're replacing what appears to be the original master control panel and all components within it. The overall outcome of this project will be the ability to provide constant and consistent water pressure through the entire Coteau system. This will be accomplished by replacing soft starts for our motors with variable frequency drives. All fluctuations in pressure and service interruptions should be eliminated with this project. And then finally, raw water influent line replacement. After noting a severe obstruction within our raw water influent line inside the plant, an informed decision was made to replace roughly 200 feet of this line. This is the main and only artery that provides water from our wells utilized to process for distribution to all constituents in Coteau. This massive project will allow unrestricted maximum flow from our water wells and should substantially increase the amount of water we are able to produce per minute by 35 to 40%. This is from Brad Crater, our Executive Director of Waterworks District Number 3. Litter abatement. On June 3rd, we had 98 bags of trash, tires, and other debris that was picked up on Jefferson Island Road. Also, President Richard would like to let you know that the estimated demo date for the Generette home on Louise Street will be next week. And finally, I would like to defer to Mr. Ben Longlinay for an update to the council on the Iberia St. Mary hydrology study as requested by Councilman Marcus Broussard and Paul Landry.
Mr. Longley, if you could state your name and title, please.
Name is Ben Longlinay. My title is Drainage Assistant to Parish President Larry Richard, and each one of you, actually, all of you, that's what I'm here for. If y'all remember, I think more than might be 8-10 months ago, we came and asked the parish to join with CPRA
Correct.
and St. Mary Parish on a study, and there was everybody was a little worried as to why we were spending money in St. Mary Parish, and I'm going to try to give you all an update on what all this study encompasses. This study area is on the map, as you can see, encompasses, can I have the next slide? It gives a little bit more information. Well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm trying to make this thing as fast as possible because I know y'all have a very busy agenda. President Richard wanted to let y'all know that he knows that this is not the best way to give y'all this information. He just wants to let y'all know that the study is complete, and he wanted to let y'all know that some of this data is readily available. So just a brief introduction. I'm not going to read all these bullet points. This slide presentation can be part of y'all packet. It can give it to y'all. Y'all can read over it. And what I ask of y'all to do when y'all read over it is write down the questions that y'all have, because this is going to generate a lot of questions from each and every one of you. And y'all need to be writing them down, because what we're gonna have to do is figure out how we're gonna have a meeting where we can all sit down. St. Mary, we had about 2 hours prior to a levy board meeting where they presented this information. And 2 hours did it pretty good, but it's not gonna happen in just 5 minutes, which is what we're gonna probably talk about today. Next slide. This was the purpose of the study. The main purpose of the study was to really understand better why the water at the jaws is not getting out. And next slide. And I'm just summing over it. This is the model boundary that you're looking at. What they did is they created a HECRAS model, and that is the boundary. And as you can see here, it goes well into St. Mary Parish. And if you can't find yourself on that map, that I think that little yellow circle is the jaws, which is just east of the St. Mary Iberia line. The green is the Wax Lake outlet, and then to the a little bit more to the east is the Atchafalaya River, and on the west side you're seeing it goes all the way to the edges of Vermilion Bay, and Marsh Island, which is Iberia Parish, is right in the middle of it. Next slide. Yes.
Just for those that don't fish or go out there. You talk the jaws, you're talking about south of Baldwin.
Yeah, and I'm gonna you can see it a lot better right here. That's why I was waiting on that,
All right.
Scott. You see, if you look at this is it's a fancy term. It says a terrain model barometric. This is what the bottom of the bay complex looks like if you took the water completely away from it. And that little legend to the right is your elevations. So what you can see is that you see the water on top of the surface. You can't see what's underneath. You can actually use this to, if you was a fisherman, to kind of figure out where the shallow spots are if you want to go fishing. So, but those of you that do fish don't need an explanation of where the jaws is. The jaws is the outlet to Bayou Teche. So all of our water that flows down Bayou Teche exits the parish in St. Mary Parish. That's why we partnered with them, because we need to understand why we have some of the problems that we have in Iberia Parish. Paul, where's Paul at? Oh, he was hiding back. That's going to answer some of the questions why we're having problems at T-Bayou and next slide. And this is just a quick setup of what it does. And what this model is basically doing is taking all of the water influence that is actually influencing this area and figuring out how it's going to react under certain conditions. And as you can see, we got plenty of water of influence. So it goes from the lower Atchafalaya River to the east, all the way to that is the I think that's the cutoff channel on Vermilion River to the east, to west. Excuse me, west. And then you got the big thing in here is the tide. So at a later meeting, that's why I'm saying y'all take this, y'all write all your questions down, and I can get the guys who did all this work to make this presentation be more effective to answering the questions that y'all have, because we help pay for this, and it's our data, so let's use it.
Sure.
Okay, because there's a lot of people who got their own perception of what's going on out there. This is the actual facts. Okay, so next slide. Okay, all these dots here and I didn't even know these stations were there. This is called the CRIMS network. This is the CPRA network of monitoring stations that are out there in the marsh. The yellow ones were those at Marsh Island. The one that you need to pay special attention to in this is 532, and that is just south of Avery Island in the marsh. I think that one's north, or it's right on the edge of the Intercoastal Canal. Next slide. Okay, so this is what the model is showing. What is the general trend to water levels? It's not good news for Iberia Parish, but we all knew that. If you look there, you've got 3 different gauge stations that they plotted, and they took, I think there's 8 years here, and the purple one, the light blue one, and the dark blue one, you can kind of see what's happening. You see how the light blue and the pink and all of those, they don't separate much separation. But look what happens when you get a tropical storm like Barry. It just completely leaves everything behind. And then look at Laura, all those hurricanes of 2000, that was what, 2021? 21. And you can kind of see what's happening there. Next slide. What they did is they plotted all this data for 8 years, and this is what the model is showing, that there's a trend here of 0.7 inches per year in the last 8 years. Put it in layman's terms, that's a half a foot in 8 years. That the average water level is higher in the bay than it was before. That's not good, you know, when you're on a flat landscape like we are. So next slide. Sitting in the bottom, what they did is they also looked at how long does it take they took a summary of the number of days for the water level to return back to a 1 foot elevation on the NAVD88 datum, which is what you get. If you get an elevation certificate on your house, that's the datum that they're using. So if you're sitting at 12 feet, you're 11 foot above this. If you get 11 foot tide surge, you're going to flood. So that's just going to give you, but you can see the days. When you get a big hurricane, like, let's say, look at the 2016 event, and y'all can probably see it a little better than me. You can see how many days it took to get back in the Bayou Teche to normal. Next slide. So we already covered this. Next slide. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you is, and that's a quick overview. What this model is showing is this whole thing started off by a bunch of farmers who met in Generates, Brian, and were telling Iberia Parish and St. Mary Parish government the problems that they were having. The problem was that they were having trouble getting rid of water from their fields, and they thought that we needed to investigate this. The whole gist of this study was to identify if there were certain things we could do to see if we could figure out what we could do to help these people get better drainage. Because if you help the farmland, you're going to help everything to the north of it. The bad news is everything we threw at this model showed that everything that you can do out there, even going to the jaws and excavating it to a minus 50 foot, it only made this much difference in the surface of the water. That's 0.2 of a foot. So you're throwing a lot of money out there for not much benefit. So the next thing that came out of the mouth of the modelers was, we are not going to dredge ourselves out of this. Because, I mean, when we have a drainage problem, the first thing we do is we think we got to make the ditches bigger and deeper. It's showing that it's not going to help. So I know it's going to stir a lot of questions in your mind. Y'all probably like to ask me some questions right now. I'll give y'all a minute. I'll take a couple of questions because I don't want to hold this meeting up.
I just want you to, for everybody's memory, to explain our drainage system was designed years ago. And correct me if I'm wrong, we can on a normal tide, which was the tide back then, we could handle 7 inches in a 24-hour period.
That's correct.
Without an issue. So I think what you just said a while ago is normal tide is now half a foot higher than it was back then.
It was a plus 1.2. Yeah. That's what all these ditches were designed at. You add 6 inches to that, and every time it's above 1.2, every channel in Iberia Parish is operating outside of its design parameters. So it's telling us that, yeah, y'all are having some problems, but there's not much we can do about it unless we start putting our heads together and working with other parishes to fix this thing.
Councilman Sonia, were you finished?
I'm done.
Councilman Rawson?
The gauges, do they have any of the gauges going into the lake as far as where the bayou and
Which lake we talking about,
what,
Scott?
General Lake, Lake Foss Point, Doche, they all?
Well, back up on those slides, you can see this data is all of it. It's publicly available, but it's not in real time, Scott. You gotta write to CPRA and they'll send it to you. You see that map right there? They got a bigger one than that. Right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are the ones that are available, Scott. I don't know if they're.
No, they're not.
They're not. See, this is coastal stuff. This is what CPRA does, coastal stuff. We'd love to get them into the inland, but that's outside of their mission, you know.
The farm was on the lake, the Lorville side of the lake. As
Well, that's that, and guess what drains the other side of Bayou Teche? The Jaws. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, the people in St. Mary were just like us. We thought we had an answer, and what we were looking at was putting some projects on the on Wax Lake Outlet and dredging some channels to make the Delta exit quicker. We even looked at the Jaws. It just goes to show you, here we are in Iberia Parish, and we're at the mercy of two things that we have no control of. One is the tide. The second one is our outlets not even in our parish control. So we got a lot of water coming at us, and we're all seeing increased flooding, and now we got to figure out what we're going to do about it. And it's going to make us as a parish council, the administration, and the people of Iberia Parish, because this is not going to be a parish project. Whatever it's going to take to fix this is going to be bigger than Iberia Parish. And we're going to have to put our heads together and figure out what we're going to do, or we're just going to have the option of doing nothing gives us the same results.
Yeah. Councilman Rawson, I yield back. Anyone else on Councilman Napier?
So, and I know you probably can't answer this, Ben, but
He's already over the minute.
I know, but just for everybody, it's gonna take. No, so we got the data. So now that they got the data, I know y'all met, and Mark invited me to the meeting. I couldn't make it, but so what is the thought process now, if there's even any, to okay, we know it's a big deal and it's bigger than St. Mary Iberia. Where do we go next? The federal government?
I've already gone there. I wasn't going to do that tonight, but I'm going to tell you. Parish Larry Reshort got some letters. Cindy sent them to me from people. It was one of them was from Bobeo's office, and I don't remember who the other one was for. But they would look at LWI seems to be our answer right now, because they're doing a bunch of modeling. Okay. The good news is that the way this model was built, because CPRA had input into how it was going to be built, that model that was done can be used and refined for every channel in Iberia Parish. So all we got to do is take that model data. The next step is figure out how each channel is influenced now. And now you have the facts of what's going on, not what you think is going on. And then you can model, I'm going to do this. Well, it's a lot cheaper to just change the model parameters. Yeah. It's going to tell you what's going to happen. If it doesn't do any good, then
why do it? Right.
Then why do it?
Right.
You got to find something that's going to give you some results to help the people. And what my preaching is, if you're going to have a regional plan, then everybody in the region's got to benefit from it. If it's going to help people to the north and not the people to the south in Iberia Parish, then I'm against it, because if it doesn't help me, it's probably going to hurt me. You know, so this is what we have to do to answer your question. We've got to do this. Invest our money in things like this that we can use to predict what's going to happen from ideas that we as a council and the engineering come up with, and see what happens when you throw that at it. Yeah. And when you start getting some results, then you're on the right target.
So there's more studying to do, more.
It's not really studying it. What you're doing is you're building a model of an existing condition so that you can use it to predict what you're going to do. Yeah, it is but it's not like a study to tell you that I'm studying to see why Brian Napier is and this is what I think we ought to do to fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I got Ben. Look, thank you. I've been involved in a couple meetings for all you doing and all the teams doing. Look, it's we needed to start somewhere, and we didn't get the answer we wanted, but we got to move on from there.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Yeah.
We spent $50,000 there's
But we
nothing-
found out a lot.
we found out a lot with that 50,000,
Yeah.
and we now have a model that we can take and use specifically for anywhere, and you can build on it.
Right.
And I will tell you this: I have asked LWI for two basic models. I asked for one on the Jaws to the north to start looking at the water from T-Bayou, and
T-Bayou, yeah,
all the way to
to the lake.
which means you're going to have to model Bayou Teche also. So you can take that. You don't have to spend that. You see that 50,000 is because we partnered with them.
With them.
So we got probably close to $1 million worth of data with a $50,000
It
investment.
was well worth the
CPRA
investment.
put in the bulk of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Thank you, Ben. I'm good. Thank you.
Councilman Napier yields back. Councilman Sonia on the question again, Mr. Long?
One more time. In your humble opinion, look, I'm 60 years old. I've been in meetings with you since I was 40 talking about this. And we just got a model back that told us what we already knew.
Exactly.
If we built the levee as we had put in the state master plan, and we took care of the drainage issues north of us to where we could pump that water out, would that fix our problem?
Yes.
That's all I have.
And matter of fact, that's the only thing that made me feel better about this, is that even though all the news is that Iberia Parish and this council was on the right page from the very beginning.
Yep.
But we didn't do a good job of telling everybody.
Councilman Sonia yields back. Just to let you know, Mr. Longenay, I'm gonna ask the clerk to get with the administration, form a meeting together so that we all can meet somewheres and discuss more of this and where we can go to.
It needs to be not only, it needs to be a parish meeting where public is
A town
invited.
hall, sure, open to
So
the
that they
public.
can ask questions.
And Warren, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Ben, I want to thank you for the time and the effort you put into this.
Tell that to Connie.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm trying not to hurt Connie, because I know. But look, I don't know if everybody in this parish knows it, but you put a lot of work in there.
Yeah, but
I
it's,
appreciate it.
I'm doing what I like to do, and I've always worked to help people, because I was for the government, and my services were free. So nobody charged me for this. So I want to do what's right for the parish. And the only way you can do it is with facts.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, Mr.
Thank you,
Longenay.
Ben.
Okay. Mr. Belanger, did you want to close?
Ms. Longley, on behalf of Mr. Richard, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And
That concludes?
Yes, sir, that concludes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Moving on to consent agenda items for public hearing and adoption. The minutes of regular meeting of May 24, 2023. Summary number 111, introduced by Sewer District Number 1.
A resolution declaring various vehicles as surplus property and further authorizing disposal of same in accordance with parish policy and state law, as requested by Berry Parish Sewer District Number 1.
Summary number 112, introduced by the parish president.
A resolution amending 2023 royalty fund budget in the amount of $567,000 to accept additional CPRA GOMESA funding from the state for the Jefferson Canal water structure and appropriate expenditures for said project.
Summary number 113, introduced by the parish president.
A resolution authorizing the Iberia Parish President to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement by and between Iberia Parish Government and City of New Iberia for a GOSEP grant for reimbursement of expenses from debris removal caused by severe storms and tornadoes on December 14, 2022, for which the governor declared a state of emergency by executing Louisiana Proclamation Number 183, JBE 2022.
Do I have a motion to open consent agenda item? Have a motion by Councilman Saunier, a second by Councilman Brown. At this time, members, is there anybody wishing to remove an agenda item from consent agenda? Hearing none, any discussion, Councilman Saunier? Councilman Brown? Hearing no other discussion, roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to ordinances introduced for public hearing and adoption. Summary number 5149, introduced by the clerk of the council. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance to create prospective precincts by the split and/or merge of precinct geography in accordance with LA Revised Statutes 18-532 and 18-5321.
Do I have a motion? Have a motion by Councilman Landry, second by Councilman Rawsonay. Councilman Landry? Councilman Rawsonay. I believe we do have the Miss Blanchard's here, and I do think Mike's here too. Mike, if you want to stand up, in case there's any questions. If you want to come to the podium, just in case. Members, at this time, is there any questions for Mr. Mike or Miss Blanchard? Okay, hearing none.
That's
Mike,
easy.
Thank you, Miss
Appreciate it.
Blanchard. Thank you for helping us through the process. We appreciate it. All right, hearing no further discussion, members, roll call. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to resolutions introduced for public hearing and adoption. Summary number 109, introduced by Brian P. Napier of District 11. Madam Clerk.
A resolution amending the 2023 Public Library Fund budget in the amount of $500,000 for roof repairs at the main library branch, all to be funded from the fund balance previous years. Note, this item was tabled at the May 24, 2023 Iberia Parish Council meeting. Note, a motion is needed to amend this item to appropriate $50,000 for architectural fees.
I have a motion to remove from the table by Councilman Napier. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Brown. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. Summary 109 is now removed from the table. Do I have a motion to open up the main motion? Have a motion by Councilman Brown and a second, a motion by Councilman Napier and a second by Brown. Councilman Napier on discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mike? Come on, girls.
Okay, as you know, we've talked about this several times, and we brought videos in. It's now up to us to approve this. Again, I'm going to say, I had a contractor that came up there with me. We did a lot of, we did some sampling up there. He took the time to really give us an in-depth budget number to change that top roof to the metal decking. That's a flat roof. And we found out he even did he took a sample of the slate tiles that go around the perimeter, found out that that was asbestos. So when you can't just remove asbestos, it's got to be an abatement. They're gonna remove all of them, and you have to have a license to remove that and to dispose of it. And that's going to be changed with an architectural shingle. That's what we recommended to the library board. That's what he recommended to the library board. And his numbers came in right around there. And I had been talking with Miss Kathy about that. And I feel that that's going to be enough. But there's no guarantee because it hadn't gone to the architect, to put all this together. But I'm hoping that that 500 is good. The one thing I did miss, and I see we have it on there, is we need to add $50,000 for the architectural fees. The 500 came from the budget number, which didn't include that. So before we vote on it, I'd like to add that language in. And it went to the library board, and I'm going to give up my time to Miss Kathy, and it passed unanimous. But Miss Kathy, if you
Ms.
have
Miles,
anything
if
to
you can
say.
state your name and title for the record.
Kathy Miles, Library Director.
Go ahead.
You did good. I don't know what else to add.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the board,
Yes.
And
it was
there was no
unanimous.
dissent. Everybody was okay with moving like that. So thank you, Miss Kathy. So I'm asking that we move forward, allow the 550, and I'm sure when she gets back the bids, once it gets to that point, we'll see if those numbers are gonna. I'm hoping that we're gonna save. It's not gonna be that much, but when you start digging into something like that, it could come in after it even gets started.
Right.
That we might have something underneath that you can't see
Right.
in the beginning. So
Right.
anyway, thank y'all for listening, and I'd like to just change that 500 to 550.
We'll come back to that. Councilman Napier yields back. Councilman Brown on discussion. Have a wave by Brown. Any discussion, members? on the main motion? Hearing none. Have a motion on the floor to amend by Councilman Napier. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Brown. That amendment is to include 50,000 to the 500,000. Any discussion on the amendment, on the Napier amendment? Hearing none. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. We have amended it to 550,000. I need a motion, I'll need a roll call vote for the main motion that's been amended to 550,000. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously.
Can I introduce my replacement?
Certainly.
This is Marjorie Hills, and she'll be taking over as the library director. So, what's the date? It's supposed to be July 9, but if I can get out faster.
Ms. Miles, thank you for your service to our community. We appreciate it.
Was that? You're running? I wasn't trying to sound excited.
How many years you been there, Ms. Catherine?
36 and a half.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. And welcome aboard. Proud to have you. Thank you so much. Moving on to summary number 114, introduced by Eugene Olivier of District 10. Madam Clerk.
A resolution amending the 2023 Economic Development District Number 1 fund budget to appropriate funding to the Airport Authority in the amount of $900,000 for the construction of 3 box hangars at the Acadiana Regional Airport, with the understanding that the airport will reimburse the district in the same amount for any other funding received towards this project.
Do I have a motion? Have a motion by Councilman Olivier, second by Councilwoman Broussard. Councilman Olivier on discussion. Councilwoman Broussard. Any main motion discussion, members? Councilman Broussard is recognized.
Yeah, I just got a question for Mr. Moe. Can you update us on the Delta Authority, where we are in the process of that?
Yes, sir. I actually had a grant application in for this project last year. It's still in. It's still in the queue. It just says waiting to be reviewed. But somebody from the Acadiana Planning Commission said I needed to resubmit. I've been talking to the Acadiana Planning Commission about a resubmission of a grant, but they've also said to us they want us. Well, we were told to submit also for the aviation exteriors project. So I'm working with them for it's actually 2 grant submittals, one for this and one for the aviation exteriors project. So it will be, we'll
Mr.
get in
Sonji,
there.
If you
Yes.
could just state your name and title.
Oh, I'm
for the
sorry.
record, if you don't mind, okay?
Mo Sanji, Director, Iberia Parish Airport Authority.
Thank you for that,
Thank
sir.
you.
Councilman Broussard, I apologize. Good. Councilman Broussard yields back. Councilman Rawson is recognized.
Definitely in favor of this one. A lot of people don't understand what goes on at that airport, and it's I hate to use this word, ignorance. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know what went on at the airport, to be honest, back up 6-8 years ago, until I got involved in government. But they do a great job.
Thank you.
And we got some possible big things coming out of the capital outlay. So
Yes.
this is all going to tie together, and a lot of people don't realize that everything they're doing at the airport is going to create possibly a few hundred jobs. So definitely a positive
Or
impact.
more.
And or more. That's just the start. But thank y'all for what y'all do at that airport, the director and the board.
Thank you. I was told today by Aviation Exteriors that we're looking at building this big 200,000 square foot hangar that would fit three 767 side by side in. I was trying to get a job count for this grant application. He said it would create possibly 100 jobs per spot. So that's 300 jobs with just this endeavor.
Councilman Rawson yields back. I know you put this in the email to some of us, but this picture speaks volume right here, to see this at our airport right here. This is major. And this is just a start, the tip
Right.
of the iceberg right here.
I'm sorry, what it doesn't show is there's actually another plane tucked around the backside of this, one of these hangars. They ran out of room, so it's being stored on the backside, kind of between the road and the hangar right now. Good. So we're getting full.
Members, anyone else on discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Moe.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
you.
Thank y'all.
Moving on to summary number 115, introduced by the clerk of the council. Madam Clerk.
A resolution amending the 2023 general fund budget in the total amount of $3,045 to appropriate funding for a programming service repairs for the voting system in the council chambers $2,640. And B, purchase of three backup batteries for computer systems, $403, all to be funded from the fund balance previous years. Note, a motion is needed to amend the cost for the backup batteries to $210 and adjust the total cost accordingly.
Do I have a motion? Have a motion by Councilman Brown. Second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown on discussion. Councilman Olivier. Certainly, I'll hold the floor for that. Any main motion discussion, members? Hearing none, I have a motion on the floor to amend by Councilman Olivier to include $210. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Brown. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. That motion has been amended. I need a roll call vote on the main motion. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 116, introduced by Lloyd Brown in District 4. Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the payment of $4,000 to the city of New Iberia to pay a portion of the cost of demolition services for a structure located in Iberia Parish, District 4, and City of New Iberia, District 5, all to be funded from the 2023 Public Health Fund budget. Condemnation demolition line item.
Do I have a motion? A motion by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown.
Yeah, I want to thank y'all for helping out with this. This house was really giving us problem, and as y'all know, it was asbestos in there, and it was really expensive to tear it down. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Councilman Olivier. Any main motion discussion, members? Hearing none, roll call. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. We do have requests for expansions. Let's see. I'll need a motion to open the public hearing for summary number 117, 118, and 5150. I have a motion to go into public hearing by Councilman Olivier, second by Councilwoman Broussard. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. We're now into public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak on any expansion agenda item? Hearing none, I need a motion to go back into regular session. I have a motion by Councilman Pollard and second by Councilman Olivier. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. We're back into regular session. Number 1, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the payment of $262 to Steel Insurance for an event policy required in conjunction with the parish Prepared Citizens Disaster Conference for Family and Community Preparedness held on June 8, 2023 at Westgate High School Auditorium, all to be funded from the 2023 General Fund budget or the supplies line item. The purpose of the expansion is to authorize the payment of funds for an event policy required for this event.
I need a motion to expand the agenda. A motion by Councilwoman Broussard. Second by Councilman Olivier. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. All right, let the record reflect in opposition, Councilman Brown, Councilman Goshenson, and Councilman Napier. The motion to expand fails. Moving on to summary number 118. Madam Clerk.
A resolution granting preliminary and final plat approval to a re-subdivision of property belonging to Vince James Dorsey located on Fernandez Crochet Lane to subdivide 3.781 acres of property into 6 lots for residential use located in District 9, subject to compliance with Planning Commission staff report PC 2023-0003, all as reviewed and recommended by the Iberia Parish Regional Planning Commission. The purpose of this expansion is to provide approval as said plat, which was not submitted prior to the deadline, to be placed on agenda.
I need a motion to expand the agenda. I have one by Councilman Rossini, second by Councilman Olivier. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. Have a motion, that motion fails. Councilman Paul Landry in opposition. Moving on to number 3, Madam Clerk, summary number 5150, introduced by Regional Planning Commission.
An ordinance approving the reclassification request for the property located at the corner of Bayou to Bayou and Danielle Road, with said partial being rezoned from R2 mixed residential to C2 commercial, located in District 9, all as reviewed and recommended by Dalberry Parish Regional Planning Commission. Purpose of this expansion is to include the introduction of this ordinance summary on the June 14, 2023 agenda in order that it may be voted upon at next meeting.
I have a motion by Councilman Rawson to expand the agenda. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Olivier. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed. I have in opposition Councilman Landry. The motion to expand the agenda fails. To remind the general public that our next meeting is June 28th and that adjudicated properties are still available on Civic Source that can be found on iberiaparishgovernment.com. I need a motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Councilman Brown and a second by Councilman Pollard. Roll call, members. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. We now adjourn.